Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi, everyone. We are very happy to see you here today.
Hello, everyone. Today's topic is things people take for granted. It's a phrase you'll hear often in English, but what does it really mean?
That's a great question. When you take something for granted, you don't fully appreciate it because it's always there. You become so used to having it that you stop thinking about its importance. Then, if it's suddenly gone, you realize how valuable it was.
I think that's something everyone can relate to. Many of us focus on what we don't have instead of noticing what we already have. We pay attention to problems, goals, and challenges, but we sometimes overlook the good things that quietly support our daily lives.
One simple example is clean water. In many places, people can walk into a kitchen, turn on a faucet, and get clean drinking water. It feels ordinary because it happens every day. Yet millions of people around the world don't have that same convenience.
That's true. Most people never stop to think about the systems and workers that make clean water available. We just expect it to be there whenever we need it. It becomes part of the background of our lives.
Electricity is another example. Imagine your power goes out for a few hours. Suddenly, you can't charge your phone, use the internet, turn on lights, or keep food cold in the refrigerator. A temporary problem can quickly remind you how much you depend on electricity.
I experienced that last year during a storm. The electricity was gone for most of the evening. At first, I thought it wasn't a big deal. A few hours later, I realized how many activities depended on power. It changed my perspective.
Family support is another thing people sometimes take for granted. If your family encourages you, helps you through difficult times, or simply listens when you need someone to talk to, that's something valuable. Yet many people don't recognize its importance until they face a challenge alone.
That's a powerful point. Human beings tend to adapt very quickly. When something good becomes a normal part of life, we stop noticing it. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. What once felt special starts to feel expected.
Psychologists often talk about this tendency. We get used to positive situations and our attention shifts elsewhere. It's not because we're bad people, it's simply how the human mind works. Still, becoming aware of this habit can help us appreciate life more.
I agree. Appreciation doesn't require dramatic changes. Sometimes it starts with noticing small things that make life easier, safer, or more enjoyable. A little gratitude can completely change how we see our daily experiences.
And that's what we'll explore throughout today's conversation. We'll look at common things people often overlook and discuss why recognizing their value can lead to a richer and more meaningful life.
Speaking of things that quietly support our daily lives, technology is probably one of the biggest examples. Most of us use it from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, yet we rarely stop and think about how much we depend on it.
That's so true. Think about smartphones. They're no longer just phones. People use them as cameras, calendars, alarm clocks, maps, wallets, and even personal assistants. If someone forgets their phone at home, many feel like they've left an important part of their life behind.
I can understand that feeling. A smartphone gives us immediate access to information. If we want to know the weather, check a schedule, read the news, or learn a new word, the answer is usually just a few taps away. That level of convenience would have seemed incredible a decade ago.
One technology I think people take for granted is GPS navigation. Before navigation apps became common, people had to read paper maps, ask strangers for directions, or memorize routes before leaving home. Today, we simply type an address and start driving.
And many people trust those apps completely. Sometimes they don't even pay attention to where they're going because the technology guides every turn. It's amazing how quickly something so advanced became normal.
Another great example is online banking. Years ago, paying bills often meant visiting a bank or mailing payments. Now, people can transfer money, check balances, and manage accounts from almost anywhere. It's fast, reliable, and available at almost any hour.
I think younger generations may not realize how much time that saves. Many services that once required waiting in line can now be completed in minutes. When everything works smoothly, we hardly notice it.
That reminds me of something that happened to me recently. My internet connection stopped working for an entire day. At first, I thought it would be a minor inconvenience. Then I realized how much of my routine depended on being connected.
What was the hardest part?
Surprisingly, it wasn't entertainment. I couldn't access certain documents, send messages efficiently, check directions, or complete a few online tasks. I kept reaching for services that simply weren't available. The experience made me realize how deeply technology is woven into everyday life.
That's interesting because many people don't notice their dependence until something stops working. Technology feels invisible when it's functioning well. We only notice it when access disappears.
Very true. Instant communication is another example. We can send a message across the world in seconds. Video calls allow families, friends, and coworkers to stay connected regardless of distance. That's something previous generations could hardly imagine.
Before we continue, we'd love to hear from our listeners. What's one piece of technology you use every day that you rarely think about? Leave a comment and share your answer. And if you're enjoying this conversation and learning useful English along the way, don't forget to subscribe so you can join us for future episodes.
Technology has transformed daily life in countless ways, and because it's so dependable, many of us forget just how extraordinary these tools really are.
Another thing that often goes unnoticed until it changes is our health. Unlike a phone, a service, or a piece of technology, health is something we carry with us every moment of the day. Yet many people don't think much about it when they feel well.
I agree. When our bodies are functioning normally, we tend to assume they'll keep doing so. We walk upstairs, carry groceries, go to work, and move through our routines without giving those activities much thought.
Walking is a great example. It's such a simple action that most people rarely consider it special. But if someone experiences an injury, even a short walk can become difficult. Suddenly, something that once felt effortless becomes a challenge.
The same can be said for sleep. People often stay up late, sacrifice rest, or treat sleep as if it's optional. Then, after a few nights of poor sleep, they notice changes in concentration, mood, and energy levels.
Sleep has a bigger impact than many people realize. When you're well rested, you can think more clearly, make better decisions, and handle stress more effectively. Good sleep supports overall well-being in ways that aren't always obvious.
Energy is another interesting topic. People often chase quick solutions when their daily routines may be the real issue. Small, healthy habits practiced consistently can make a huge difference over time.
Have you ever had an experience that made you appreciate your health more? Definitely. A couple of years ago, I caught a really bad cold. It wasn't anything serious, but it lasted longer than I expected. At first, the symptoms seemed manageable. Then, I started feeling exhausted all the time.
What was that like?
The strange thing was how much I missed feeling normal. My nose was constantly blocked, my throat hurt, and I had very little energy. Tasks that usually took a few minutes suddenly felt difficult. Even enjoying a conversation required more effort than usual.
It's amazing how illness can change our perspective.
It really can. During my recovery, I started noticing improvements little by little. One day, I could breathe more comfortably. Another day, I felt stronger. Each small step reminded me how valuable good health is. Before getting sick, I rarely thought about those things.
That's a powerful lesson. Recovery often makes people more aware of what they previously overlooked. It creates a new appreciation for ordinary moments and abilities.
I think many listeners can relate to that experience. Sometimes we assume we'll always feel the way we do today. Then a temporary illness reminds us that health is something to not ignore.
That's why paying attention to healthy habits matters. We may not notice the benefits every day, but they contribute to our well-being in the long run. And when we feel strong, rested, and capable, it's worth remembering that those things have tremendous value.
Health is deeply important, but another part of life that shapes our happiness is the people around us. Human beings are social by nature, and our relationships influence almost every aspect of our lives. Yet these connections can become so familiar that we stop recognizing how much they contribute to our daily experience.
That's a thoughtful point. Many people can easily list their responsibilities, goals, and possessions, but they may spend less time thinking about the individuals who help them along the way. Support often arrives quietly, without drawing attention to itself.
Parents are a good example. Whether it's helping with practical problems, offering advice, or simply being available during difficult moments, parents often provide years of support. Because that support develops gradually over time, people sometimes underestimate its significance.
I think that's especially true when we're younger. Many things parents do seem normal because they've always been there. Later in life, people often gain a deeper understanding of the sacrifices and efforts that were made on their behalf.
Friends also play an important role. A good friend can provide encouragement during challenging times and celebrate achievements during successful moments. Strong friendships create a sense of connection that can make life more enjoyable.
What's interesting is that friendship isn't always about dramatic situations. Sometimes it's the small interactions that matter most. A conversation after a difficult day or a simple message asking how you're doing can have a surprisingly positive impact.
That's true. Consistent kindness often leaves a lasting impression. Teachers and mentors deserve recognition as well. Many people can remember someone who believed in them, offered guidance, or helped them develop new skills.
I certainly can. There was a teacher who encouraged me to participate more in class when I was younger. At the time, it seemed like a small thing. Looking back, that encouragement helped build confidence that stayed with me for years.
Those experiences can be incredibly valuable. Sometimes another person's belief in our abilities helps us see possibilities we might have missed on our own.
Coworkers also deserve attention. Many adults spend a significant portion of their lives working alongside the same people. Positive professional relationships can make stressful situations easier to manage and create a more supportive environment.
I agree. Trust plays a major role in those situations. When people know they can rely on one another, tasks become easier and teamwork becomes more effective. A strong relationship, whether personal or professional, is often built on trust over time.
One reason people take loved ones for granted is that they assume those relationships will always remain unchanged. When someone is consistently present in our lives, we may begin to expect that presence rather than appreciate it.
That's an important observation. None of us can predict the future, which is why expressing gratitude matters. Waiting until circumstances change can leave us wishing we had been more appreciative earlier.
A simple thank you, a meaningful conversation, or a small act of kindness can remind people how much they matter. The relationships we build and maintain often become some of the most valuable parts of life, and remembering that can help us stay grateful for the people who walk beside us every day.
Thinking about the people who help us every day brings up another interesting topic. Some of the most important individuals in society are often the ones who receive the least attention. Their work happens in the background, yet our daily routines depend on them more than we realize.
That's a great point. Many professions are so common that people barely notice them. We benefit from their work every day, but rarely stop to consider how difficult life would be without their contribution.
Delivery drivers are a perfect example. Whether it's food, medicine, household supplies, or important documents, countless items arrive at homes and businesses because someone spends hours transporting them from one place to another.
What's interesting is how quickly people have become accustomed to that convenience. Someone places an order and expects it to arrive soon afterward. The process feels simple from the customer's perspective, but a lot of effort happens behind the scenes.
Cleaners are another group whose work is frequently overlooked. Offices, schools, hospitals, shopping centers, and public spaces remain comfortable and usable because dedicated people work hard to maintain them.
Imagine if cleaning services stopped for a week. It wouldn't take long before people noticed the difference. Trash would accumulate, surfaces would become unpleasant, and many spaces would feel less welcoming.
Hospitals provide an especially important example. People often focus on doctors and nurses, but a healthcare facility also depends on many other workers. Clean and organized environments help support everyone who enters the building.
Farmers deserve recognition too. Most people purchase food without thinking much about where it originated. Yet every meal depends on individuals who grow crops, care for animals, and manage agricultural operations throughout the year.
Farming requires tremendous responsibility. Weather conditions, equipment maintenance, and long working hours can all affect production. Despite these challenges, farmers help ensure that communities have access to food.
Public transportation workers are another essential part of modern life. Bus drivers, train operators, maintenance crews, and many others help millions of people reach work, school, and important appointments.
Let's consider an interesting question. What would happen if delivery drivers, cleaners, farmers, and public transportation workers all disappeared for 1 week?
I think people would be surprised by how quickly problems would appear. Deliveries would stop arriving, public spaces would become less organized, transportation systems would struggle, supply chains could experience delays.
Grocery stores might also face challenges. Fresh products would become harder to replace, and many businesses would need to adjust their operations. Daily life could become far more complicated than people expect.
That's what makes these professions so valuable. Their service allows society to function smoothly. Because everything usually works, many people never stop to think about the individuals making it possible.
I believe appreciation starts with awareness. When we recognize the effort behind everyday services, we develop a greater understanding of how connected our lives are.
Every community relies on people performing important tasks with dedication and care. Their contribution may not always receive public attention, but the impact of their work is visible everywhere. They help keep life moving forward, and that makes their role truly essential.
We've talked about health, relationships, and the people whose work support society. Now I'd like to discuss something that belongs to everyone, yet often feels invisible until we reflect on it. I'm talking about time.
That's a fascinating topic because time is one resource that can't be replaced. If you lose money, you may earn more. If you misplace an item, you might find it again. But once a day has passed, there's no way to get it back.
And despite knowing that, many people still struggle with procrastination. They delay tasks, postpone decisions, or tell themselves they'll start tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next month.
I think most people have experienced that at some point. The challenge is that a small delay often feels harmless. We convince ourselves that there's plenty of time available, so taking action doesn't seem urgent.
Busy schedules can create another problem. Many people move from one activity to another without stopping to consider whether those activities match their priorities. Being busy and being productive are not always the same thing.
That's an important distinction. Someone can spend an entire day occupied with tasks and still feel that little progress was made. Productivity often depends on focusing attention on what truly matters, rather than simply staying active.
When I think about time, I'm often reminded of childhood. As a child, summer vacations seemed endless. Waiting a month for something felt like waiting forever.
I remember that feeling too. Time appeared to move slowly because every experience felt new. There were so many discoveries, changes, and memorable moments packed into each year.
Then adulthood arrives, and somehow the years seem to accelerate. One moment you're making plans for the future, and before you know it, several years have passed.
I had a moment like that recently. I was looking through old photographs from about 10 years ago. In my mind, those memories felt recent. Then I realized how much life had changed since those pictures were taken. It was surprising.
I experienced something similar at a reunion. Seeing people I hadn't met in years made me realize how quickly time moves. We had all changed, grown, and followed different paths. It felt as though only a short period had passed, but the calendar told a different story.
Those experiences encourage reflection. They remind us that time moves forward whether we're paying attention or not. That's why recognizing opportunities when they appear is so important.
I agree. Not every opportunity leads to success, but many people regret the chances they never explored. Taking action can be uncomfortable, yet waiting indefinitely often leads to nowhere.
Balance also matters. People shouldn't spend every minute working towards goals while ignoring the present. Making time for relationships, rest, and meaningful experiences is important too.
That's a great point. A well-balanced life allows us to pursue ambitions while still appreciating the moments happening right now.
Time passes quietly, often without demanding attention, yet it may be one of the most valuable things we possess, which is why using it wisely deserves careful thought.
Thinking carefully about time naturally leads to another topic that many people rarely examine closely: freedom and opportunity. These are things that can be difficult to measure, which may be one reason people sometimes overlook their importance.
I agree. Many opportunities become so familiar that they simply feel normal. People focus on what they still want to achieve and forget to notice the possibilities already available to them.
Education is a great example. In many parts of the world, people have opportunities to attend school, develop skills, read books, and learn from experienced teachers. When these opportunities are available from an early age, it's easy to assume they'll always be there.
Yet throughout history, education has not been equally available to everyone. Even today, many individuals face obstacles that make learning more difficult. That's why education can be viewed as both an opportunity and a privilege.
Another interesting topic is freedom of choice. Every day, people make decisions about where they live, what they study, what career they pursue, and how they spend their time. These choices can shape entire lives.
Sometimes people become frustrated because they focus only on limitations. While limitations certainly exist, it's also important to recognize the choices that remain available. Having the freedom to choose a direction is something many people underestimate.
Access to information has changed dramatically as well. A few decades ago, learning about a new subject often required visiting a library, purchasing books, or finding someone with specialized knowledge.
Today, a person can learn about science, history, business, language, art, or almost any other topic from a computer or phone. Information that was once difficult to obtain can now be reached in seconds.
That brings us to something especially relevant for our listeners: learning English. Many English learners focus on what they still need to improve. They think about grammar mistakes, pronunciation challenges, or vocabulary gaps.
Those concerns are understandable, but there's another perspective worth considering. Many learners have access to resources that previous generations could only dream about. There are videos, podcasts, articles, online courses, dictionaries, and language communities available at almost any time.
That's true. Imagine trying to learn a language decades ago without the internet. Finding authentic listening practice might have been difficult. Opportunities for regular exposure would have been far more limited.
Now, learners can listen to conversations while exercising, commuting, or relaxing at home. They can review lessons repeatedly and study at their own pace. The amount of access available today creates tremendous learning potential.
I think some learners don't recognize how valuable those resources are because they're always available. When something becomes part of daily life, it can lose its sense of importance.
That's a pattern we've discussed throughout this conversation. People often notice value only when something becomes unavailable. Yet awareness allows us to appreciate opportunities before they're gone.
And appreciation can create motivation. When people recognize the resources they already possess, they often feel more encouraged to use them effectively.
Freedom, education, information, and learning opportunities can open doors in remarkable ways. Taking advantage of them isn't always easy, but recognizing their value is often the first step toward reaching one's full potential.
As we reach the end of today's conversation, I think there's a simple message connecting everything we've discussed. Many of the most valuable parts of life don't attract much attention. They exist quietly in the background, supporting us day after day.
That's true. We talked about clean water, electricity, technology, health, relationships, workers who provide important services, time, education, and opportunities. None of these things seem unusual when they're available. Their importance often becomes visible when something changes.
One lesson I've learned is that appreciation doesn't have to be complicated. People sometimes imagine gratitude as a major life change, but it can begin with something much smaller. It can start with noticing what's already present.
I like that idea because it's practical. Appreciation isn't about pretending life is perfect. Everyone faces challenges, frustrations, and disappointments. Being grateful simply means recognizing that good things exist alongside those difficulties.
Small habits can help with that. For example, some people spend a few moments each day thinking about positive experiences. Others write down a few things they're grateful for before going to sleep. These habits encourage people to pay attention to details they might otherwise miss.
Another useful habit is slowing down occasionally. Modern life can feel fast and demanding. When people rush from one task to another, they may overlook meaningful moments that deserve attention.
That's a great point. Sometimes appreciation grows from awareness. A pleasant conversation, a helpful friend, a comfortable home, or a peaceful walk can seem ordinary until we pause long enough to notice their value.
Perspective matters too. When we compare ourselves only to people who appear more successful, wealthier, or more accomplished, we may focus entirely on what's missing. A broader perspective can remind us of the many positive things already present in our lives.
I think another important idea is not waiting until something is lost. It's natural to appreciate things more after they're gone, but we don't have to rely on that experience. We can make a conscious effort to recognize value while we still have it.
That's a powerful mindset. Whether it's health, relationships, opportunities, or time itself, awareness allows us to appreciate these things before circumstances force us to notice them.
And appreciation often changes behavior. When people recognize something as valuable, they're more likely to protect it, nurture it, and invest time in it. Gratitude isn't passive. It can influence the choices we make every day.
If there's one takeaway from today's discussion, it's that many meaningful parts of life are easy to overlook because they're familiar, yet familiarity doesn't reduce their importance. In many cases, it highlights just how deeply they are woven into our daily experience.
Before we say goodbye, we'd like to leave you with one final question to think about. What's one thing in your life that you've been taking for granted lately?
Whatever your answer may be, perhaps today is a good opportunity to appreciate it a little more, feel grateful for its presence, and recognize the valuable role it plays in your life.